Good morning. Well, you got to see a little bit of our executive director, Tracy Lyle, up on the video. She couldn't be here today. I'm Donna Mathews. I'm the associate director. And this video was put together to show at a fundraising event. So we were thanking the funders there. But the thank yous can also go to everyone who has a display out front and all of you in the community, because our clients depend on most of the providers that are also on display here. We work with so many other agencies that I appreciate those of you that are here today, and I've visited with some of you already. The video tells, I'm glad that we got to have some of our prior clients on there so that you can see what they have to say about the difference our services make. So again, I'm with DVIS. It's Domestic Violence Intervention Services. We've been in Tulsa since, I believe, 1974. I've been there almost 10 years. And as I'm sure the people that work at the other nonprofits that provide services, I feel honored to get to do the work there. I feel very fortunate to know that when I go there every day, I'm going to help somebody. So what we need from you is to spread the word. I'm going to tell you a little about the different kinds of services we offer. And what we find is it may not be you who needs our services. It may be, but it may be your neighbor, and it may be your sister, it may be your sister's neighbor. So when you talk about what you hear today and about the fact that, yes, there is a domestic violence shelter in Tulsa, everybody that you know needs to know that fact, because not everybody knows that. When I moved back to Tulsa, which is my hometown, when I moved back here 10 years ago, I was getting my hair cut, and this young woman was washing my hair, and she had no idea there was a domestic violence shelter. She was probably 28 and had 2 little kids. Well, she needs to know that. So everybody needs to know that. There is a crisis line that you can call 24 hours a day. It's on the back of all of our brochures out here. I urge you to at least get one of them. There are various kinds of brochures, one just a general one about all of our services. So it's a prevention measure for you to go tell people about what services we have here. And we are very much interested in prevention. We want to prevent that generational cycle of violence. I so appreciated Dr. Floyd's comments. I made notes of some of the things where it's that just really spoke to me, and I'll refer back to some of them. But Native American women have double the domestic violence and sexual assault rate as white women do in our society. So the Native Americans do have a larger need for our services, and we, of course, do try to meet those needs and provide those needs. We have an education outreach coordinator who goes to high schools and to some junior highs, and she doesn't just start talking about violence in a relationship. She starts talking about healthy relationships. So she might talk about how do you want your friends to treat you? And then, therefore, why wouldn't you expect someone that you're in a love relationship with or a dating relationship with, why wouldn't you expect them to treat you the same way? If you brought your girlfriend home for Christmas dinner, you wouldn't expect her to get drunk and get in a political argument with your father and maybe be 2 hours late getting there. You wouldn't tolerate that in a girlfriend if you were a woman, but yet you might tolerate that in a boyfriend. So she just tries to put it in a real clear perspective, but starts at a much more basic level of just healthy relationships and red flags. Now with everyone having their phones with them all the time and texting, it might seem like a compliment if someone is texting you all the time and saying, where are you? When are you going to be here? But when that's happening 100 times a day, and then there's anger that grows because you're not writing back immediately, then those are red flags about a relationship that these young people may not really understand, may not see that as a problem, as someone who is starting the signs of controlling them or maybe isolating them from their friends. So we're real happy that we have someone who can do that kind of outreach for us on a full-time basis. Another big reason that we need people to spread the word and try to do this prevention work is that you see it in the paper all the time, a domestic violence homicide. Of those people who are killed in domestic violence homicides nationally and in Oklahoma as well, a very small percentage of those people have received services at a domestic violence program like mine. Now, some of them have. Sometimes doesn't seem to be enough to do about it. But for the most part, a large number of those people, 95% of them, have not received services, have not called a crisis line, have not come to a shelter, have not come into a place like Divis where they can do some safety planning with a professional who's trained to do that safety planning with them. We safety plan with people who are staying in their relationship at this time. You don't have to be out and on your own and worried about whether your doors are locked to be needing safety planning. We help people safety plan so that they can stay and be safe until it's safe to leave. We help them plan their exit. We help them learn how to save a little money aside, how to move important documents to a place where they will have access to them when they leave. It's like I say often, when you look at your job and you say, you know what, I've been here long enough, it's time for me to leave and look for another job. You don't put your resignation letter in that day. You plan, you take care of yourself, and you plan ahead, and you go ahead and find another job, and then you leave and are able to do that. But obviously, these are dangerous situations, and some people do come to our shelter in dire need, but we do try to help people plan for their leaving if we can. But it's just important that people outreach to us, call our crisis line, come in to see us for those kind of services. Let's see. We have a wide variety of services. I will touch on them briefly just so that you'll know, because people don't always know. You're going to hear a lot today about children and the damage that's done to them at an early age, and we've just seen and heard some moving information about that. We have some excellent children's counselors that are licensed professional counselors that have specialized training in helping children get that bond back with their parent that may have been broken by another parent being violent with them or in front of them, and to try to learn to trust that parent again that is trying to protect them. So we have some great counselors available to do that at our shelter, at our transitional living program, and at our outpatient office. And that's the one at 4300 South Harvard that you may have driven by and know where we are there. Then we have counseling for survivors of domestic violence. And as you heard on the video, it doesn't have to be physical to be abusive. It can be emotionally abusive, financial abuse, spiritual abuse. We used to have a speaker who talked about the spiritual abuse that happened in her relationship where her husband was violent to her and would open the Bible up and show her where proof was that he was to be able to treat her like that. So obviously that is not to be tolerated at all in our society, and I know you feel the same way. Out on the table, I may be out of them, but I have a few brochures from a place called the Faith Trust Institute. If you're not aware of it, you might make a note. They work with congregations and faith communities to work in domestic violence. It's the Faith Trust Institute. You can find it online, and I have a few brochures. So we have counseling for survivors. We have counseling for the abusive partners. Most of the people who come to us as having committed abuse of some kind or another, most are court-ordered, but not all of them. We have people who come to us and say, I need help. I don't want to treat my family like this. And even the ones that are court-ordered, they're court-ordered to us for 52 weeks. And as you might imagine, vast majority of them, when they come in, they say, I don't know why I'm here. I didn't do anything wrong. And they may not realize that what they did was wrong because they've grown up generationally having this happen in their lives as they were children and in their grandparents and that sort of thing. So they do, when they're with us, learn that they can live differently. They stay with us for 52 weeks if they complete the program, and they write letters at the end that they don't have to give to anybody, but they do have to give to us. They don't have to mail them to the person they harmed. But they do give us their letters, and I get to see a few of them, and they're very moving. And they thank us for sticking with them. They thank us for the kindness of our counselors to help them learn that they can change their lives, that they don't have to keep living the way they've been living. They may have ruined the relationship that sent them to court and sent them to us, but they know they can learn to live differently going forward and to be a different influence in their children's lives. So you've heard that we just built a new shelter. You may have seen about it in the news. We're very excited about it, very proud of it, but we have to remember that nobody who's in our shelter wants to be there. So we try to keep that in mind. It's like, yes, I'm real proud. We give tours. Isn't this beautiful? Well, yes, but nobody wants to be there. They're eating in this dining room that's beautiful with new artwork, but that's not where they want to be. So our job is to help them learn about the resources that are available to them, their inner strengths, their family strength and support, their faith strength and support, if that is important to them, and give them the opportunity to find those resources that can help them go and have a safe and happy life and be good parents to their children if they have them. So other things that you may have heard about our shelter is that we have a kennel. And someone might ask, well, why would you want to take dogs and cats? You need to help the people. They're the ones that are in danger. Well, many times the animals are threatened by the abusive partner, and they may have actually harmed some of the animals. So a person might not want to leave their dog or cat. They're afraid to. They know if they do, they'll probably be harmed or possibly be harmed. The children that they bring with them will be worried about the animals. So we now have the ability to house dogs and cats. And we worked on that for a long time to get some support from area veterinarians. And if you know of any others that you would like to send our way to volunteer to give those first shots before they can safely stay in the kennel with other animals, we would appreciate that. We also have a space for male victims now. We all realize that sometimes males are victims of domestic violence. It's a small percentage, but we wanted to be prepared for that. And we have, I believe, had a male victim in our shelter in the last 6 months or so. So in the past, there was just one place in Oklahoma, and it was out in Woodward. And so that wasn't much of a choice for people. So we would work with them to try to find them a safe place to stay, but now they can stay in our shelter. And we also, about a year and a half ago, became certified by the state attorney general to serve trafficking victims. And so we have a special place in the shelter for trafficking victims, because sometimes they need to it's up to them, but if they so choose, they can have some quieter space and not mix with everybody else if that's how they want to be treated. So one thing that people always ask me is, why do women stay? And as I've just acknowledged, it's not always women, but many, many times it is. So why do women stay? Why don't they just leave? Well, like I said, you don't just leave your job the day you realize that you need to leave your job. You start making a plan for that. Also, when someone leaves is the most dangerous time for them. When someone files divorce papers, if we've seen someone and they're coming in our outpatient office, we need to know, their attorney needs to tell them when those papers are going to get sent to be served, because that's a very dangerous day for them. Yes, he may know she's coming for counseling. She may have told them she's going to file for divorce, but getting those papers served on you, very dangerous time for the victims that have already been victims of abuse. Any other ongoing important dates in the process of child custody and divorce. So, but going and renting your own apartment is a dangerous time. Getting a better job where you make more money so that you now have the ability to leave is a dangerous time. So that's one of the reasons why people don't leave. Secondly, they can't imagine how they can support two households when they can barely support one in many instances. They may have gotten married and at the time believed that was going to be their spouse forever, and just sworn in front of God and their witnesses that was forever, till death do you part. So that's a very difficult thing for them. So that's another reason we like to reach out to the faith community, so that people can learn how to be supportive of someone who has those struggles, because it is a struggle. But the most dangerous time is leaving. And one thing we do want to remind people of is that when people come to us for services, that is a parent protecting their children. That's a parent protecting themselves. And as you heard Jalinda say on the video, many, many, many women will put up with abuse towards themselves, but once it starts being abusive toward their children, they realize that they've got to get out. They've got to get out and come and get some help. So that's what we want to be able to be there for them. But we want people to recognize that coming to us for services does constitute protecting your children. It's, again, a very dangerous time to leave. So I'll just look back here on Dr. Floyd, one of the notes I made, because the historical trauma of the Native Americans is a very important thing. And so you do have some great Native American domestic violence and sexual assault programs in Oklahoma, and sometimes that is where people can go to get services, but depending on where they live, they may need to get services from us. And we want to be culturally competent to provide those services, and we provide training for our staff to be able to do that. But we do want people to let us know if they experience something different. We want to address any concerns. A couple of other programs that we have is our sexual assault program sends hospital advocates to the hospital when someone gets a sexual assault nurse exam. So if someone's been raped or sexually assaulted, they can call 911 or they can call us, and we have the relationship with those nurses that provide the exams. And they go to the hospital. Our advocate goes with them, and our advocate is providing just support an explanation of what's going on, what's going to happen. And if there's a family member out in the lobby who's very concerned for their dear one who's been raped, we might get another staff person or a volunteer to be able to go and sit with them and be a comfort to them as well. We provide free counseling to sexual assault victims and their families so that they can recover from that to the best that they can. We've had some people who have come to us in a very suicidal, and then they come to our counselors and they learn that it's not their fault they were raped. It's not their fault, and they can learn to get over that and come back into a community with everyone else. We also have, we're very fortunate to have attorneys who work for us to help the domestic violence and sexual assault victims as they go through the protective order process, and also to get a divorce or custody, to try to help them get custody of their children. It's a very complex thing, as you know, and obviously we have entry guidelines. People that can afford their own attorneys, we encourage them to do that, and we have a referral list of attorneys. If people would like to call, they can call and get that. But we're very glad to be able to have these federal grants that allow us to represent people in divorce court, in custody court, and paternity, of course, as well. So I'll be here until after lunch, and then we'll have some volunteers here at the booth until then, so we can answer any questions you might have. And I want to be a resource to you. Again, my name is Donna Mathews, and that's my email address. Feel free to email me. I don't have cards out on the table. The cards I have on the table are for our education coordinator, Samantha. And you can take that card if you would like her to come out and speak to you, or get another speaker. One thing that volunteers do for us is go out and speak in public. We have a speakers bureau. Other things they do are, like I said, help with those nurse exams. We also have some office help that those positions are available as well. So you can contact me and I'll forward you to the volunteer coordinator. But if you'd like somebody to come and speak, you can take her card. Oh, I wanted to comment briefly. I'll be through in a minute, Denny, wherever you are. In your packets is about 4 pages of a safety plan that I think was taken off of our website. So I would encourage you to look at that at some point. And what that brings to you is the realization that it's a complicated thing. Safety is very complicated. There's a section about technology and stalking. You're carrying a phone with you. I used the GPS to get here this morning, and it didn't get me the right place right at first. But someone who had access to my phone account online could tell where I am right now. Most of you, if someone wanted to, they could, if they wanted to get into, if they could guess your password, don't raise your hands, but how many of you are using your birth date or an address or your dog's name for your password? Not safe at all. And we try to get our clients to turn their GPS off their phone before they come to our shelter, before they come to us for services, because it's just not safe. A lot of these people who are stalking or who are abusive partners use technology to find their victim again and again and again. They'll even put a GPS on the car. So technology is something that our staff stays up on quite a bit. We send out new information about that all the time. And then like safety away from home, safety at home, safety when you're staying, safety when you're planning to leave. So safety is a very complicated thing, and that's what we want to do to help people, is to plan for that, because we do that all the time. And then you have a brochure, a few pages from a website of Futures Without Violence, which is a great group that we get resources and information from all the time. There's some wonderful national groups doing work in domestic violence. And if you want to learn more about any of it, you can just contact me and I can send you more information. Thank you very much for being here. I'm honored that you're here and that everybody wants to learn more about these issues. Thank you.